Today I'm exploring a new trail. So my family and I came over to Ormond Beach for a few days for a little vacation, and there is a trail nearby that I've never ridden before. I've heard a lot of good things about. It's called Graham Swamp, and from what I understand, it's about a 5.5 mile loop. So it's about 20 minutes from where we're staying, so I'm driving over. I love exploring new trails, and like I said, I've heard this is a pretty good one. So I'm gonna do a lap, and then I'm gonna put the GoPro on and show you the trail, and then I'll do my typical trail review where, you know, I talk about the trail, what kind of bike works best for it, that kind of thing. I have a pretty drive to get over here. This is Ormond by the Sea. So it's Saturday. I would imagine there's going to be quite a few people out riding this morning on this trail. Oh my gosh, there's one car in the trailhead. That's still kind of early. One car. So I'll be riding the Stump Jumper today. A trail bike is one of those bikes that you're just ready for anything. I've heard there's some decent drops here on this trail. Looking forward to checking it out. Okay, so this is where you start the trail, and it's a little tough getting 780 wide bars onto the trail through that gate. And this is the beginning section, and you'll see on the right coming up, there's a little tool section with a pump and some tools in case you need them and didn't bring them. And then a little set of doubles here that I cleared, and there was another set there on the left. I didn't have enough speed to try those. Another set of doubles there on the left. And this is where you start the main single track of Graham Swamp, and a little rooty section. A lot of rooty, rocky climbs on this. It's Florida, so the climbs are not long. You see some rocks there. This trail was really well built. I was really impressed with Graham Swamp. There's a sign that says danger drop. That was about a 3-footer. And then a jump afterwards. Another kind of hip style jump there. Coming up a little hill. Some guy taking the 2-foot gear to get up that hill. So like I said, this trail was really well built. Very little flat sections on this trail. A lot of just up and down. Some climbs that probably the longest climb is only going to be about 15 or 20 seconds, but they're steep, so you're grinding up hard. It's not like in the mountains where you just set a pace and just kind of hold that pace. Here it's just a real kind of a sprint or grind up the climb. Some loose stuff, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video as I get into it. But the beginning part had the most, you know, we'll call it elevation change, mainly just up and down. But this was actually turned out to be a really nice trail to test out the Stump Jumper that I'm doing my project with. Another drop here coming up. Kind of go up on the rocks and then you drop down. It's the GoPro effect going on here. It's a little bit steeper and more challenging than it appears on the GoPro, but that's just kind of the way it is. Like I said, a lot of roots and rocks, so it was a good place to test this Stump Jumper 29er. My project bike right now that I'm enjoying the more I ride it. And the 29er actually was really good for this trail because of those roots and rocks. There's a kind of a rocky climb coming up here, and then there were a lot of kind of wood features to help you get up some of the climbs. The trail was not very sandy. Another little drop here, and this one had some good little roots and rocks coming down the little descent there. But like I said, the trail was not too sandy. There was a guy who I rode a little bit with on one of my laps. I ended up doing 3 laps here, and he said it can get sandy kind of in the middle of summer. But there was some sand, but not that much to be so close to the beach. I mean, this is probably half a mile from the beach. So this trail, Graham Swamp, this is a nice rocky section. Good place to work on your technique. Like I said, this trail, Graham Swamp, is in Flagler Beach, and so a little bit north of Ormond Beach, which, like I said in the opening, was where we were staying. Nice little flowy section here. Graham Swamp is not a trail where you're going to get a lot of just flow. It is a lot of just grinds up a climb and drops. Here's another little rooty, rocky climb. Again, enjoying the way this 29er rides. A little more technical than it appears in the GoPro, Just got to kind of keep your rhythm going. Let's talk about the kind of bike that I feel is going to be best for this trail. I feel like a trail bike is the type of bike where you're going to have the most fun. You can take some pretty good hits. I think it would not be as fun on a cross-country bike. However, you could easily do this trail on a cross-country bike. You could really nail down a good lap time. I just feel like you're going to have a little bit more fun on a trail bike, especially like right there. There's, that dropped off more than you could tell in the video, but doing drops like that for me are more fun on a trail bike. I tell you what you really would want on this trail, and that is a dropper seat post. So of course this one being a trail bike has one. Tight tree section there. And let me just mention that I had 780 wide bars, like I said in the beginning, and there were not very many sections where it was too tight for those bars. I would probably say maybe 2 or 3 sections that I had to be real careful getting around. But otherwise, the 780 wide bars were perfectly fine. So going back to the dropper seat post, I think whether it's a cross-country bike or a trail bike, on this trail, I ended up using my dropper post a lot, probably like 20 times per lap. And like I showed in the text there in the beginning, each lap was 6.5 miles. Loose stuff here, there's actually seashells built in, or in the dirt, I should say. And some loose rocks on some of the climbs, some roots, some firm rocks on some of the climbs. Like I said before, it was not real long climbs, but the climbs where you just got to really power up. I actually did use my 50 tooth on my SRAM Eagle on one of the climbs that was really steep and loose. Little good rocky technical section there. Really good trail to practice technical. So I used trails like this in Florida, Alafaya, Bomboyette, and trails in Ocala to really work on my skills so that when I do my trips to the mountains, which I'm trying to do more and more, it really does carry over when you get up into the mountains. Just the ability to stay in the saddle and not slip the rear tire out on climbs. No, little skinny there, little bridge. Quite a few skinnies on this trail, and I'm going to be coming up pretty soon to a rock feature that I thought was really cool. Probably one of the most technical features on the trail, but I'll talk about that when we get to it. So like I said, I like using trails like this to hone my skills. The 29er was a little bit cumbersome on a couple corners, but I really got used to it. Here's a really technical climb that's more technical than it looks. You got to take a right there because that's the way the trail goes. And I actually had to go back and do that one again. A lot of fun sections on this trail. Obviously not long descents, but the descents that were there were pretty fun. And now we're coming up, I think, to this rock feature. Yeah, so you've got to ride up on the rock. There's a skinny between rocks, drop down a rock, steep skinny, a lot steeper than it looks in the GoPro. And dropping off that rock, there was another skinny that you had to nail. And that was a really cool feature. I liked that one. And there was another rock on the right there that I missed. And that one looked pretty challenging to get up. Even though this is called Graham Swamp, there was no swamp that you had to ride through. I did spot one off the trail. This is a really loose climb. I think this was the longest climb on the trail, but just a grind, keeping the rear tire from slipping out. Since this is Florida, I want to go ahead and talk about the weather. So if you're coming from up north and it's the summertime, I would not recommend mountain biking in Florida if you're not used to a lot of heat and humidity. It can be almost dangerous. And so in the wintertime, I'm sure this trail would be absolutely incredible as far as weather. This is a cool section here, a little skinny. This was October. Oh, there's the road on the left. So that reminds me to mention that this trail you could either see or hear the road the whole time, so you don't get the feeling that you're just out in the middle of nowhere like some other Florida trails, Croom, San Velasco, even parts of Santos and Ocala. But what this lacked in getting out there, it made up for in fun and this was just a super fun trail to ride. I totally enjoyed it. Going back to the weather, so just a little tip. Like I said, this was October 6th, and it was still really hot. The humidity in Florida is actually worse in the mornings, and then around 10 you get a nice balance of the humidity lifting a little bit and not being too hot yet. But I would say about 98% of this trail was in the shade, and that was really welcomed, especially when it's, the sun's beating down and it's really hot. So you just have to be prepared. Like I said, it's only a 6.5 mile lap. You only need to bring one water bottle with you because you're going to be back at your car in 6.5 miles. If you want to do another lap or two, just refill your water bottle or grab another one. But as far as being prepared, if you're not used to the heat and humidity and you're coming down for vacation, if it's a warmer time of the year, just don't push it that hard. Even being used to the heat and humidity, it was a little more humid over here than I'm used to, even back where I live in the Gainesville, Florida area. And so, I actually got a little bit too warm. And so you just have to be careful. It's not something you want to mess around with. More little technical sections here, little technical descents. Like I said, not just really smooth flow, but a nice technical challenge. There's a nice wooden drop at the very end of the trail, right before you get to the parking lot. Another little nice rocky climb there. And it kind of, when the drop's coming, it reminded me of those boat rides where you're kind of going along the boat, but there's a big drop at the end, and you're kind of anticipating it. That's kind of the feeling I got. Here it is. Nice steep wood drop, a lot steeper than it looks on the GoPro. There was another one on the other side that hit a bigger jump after the drop. And so, as I said before, 6.5 mile lap, and we're coming right back to the parking lot. So it's a nice area to just kind of do laps. So, grab another water bottle, some food, and head back for another one. That'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching.